Well, today's lesson is entitled, I'm Registering at a Higher Level. I don't know about you, but I'm registering at a higher level. There's a word, when I graduated high school, I was already registered in the new college. So the graduation, the word that is called matriculation. It's not really you finish because you're already registered at a new level, yes? And so when we finish a year, what we're really doing is registering at another level, right? Now that word matriculate, if you look up in the dictionary, it says to matriculate most often into a university or college. But the other definition of matriculate is to enroll as a member of a body. To enroll as a member of a body. Well, now that's very interesting when you look at the metaphysics, that which is behind everything that is life. Because what we discover when we look behind everything that I am is we discover that I am spirit. Yes? Did everybody touch the heart center and say, I am spirit? Do you agree with yourself when you say that? I am spirit? There's a part of you that actually senses in the middle of your being in the physical body that you have a spiritual essence. Yes? Now, in our practice, in our work, we like to take that spiritual reality and put it in first place, right? Not like, oh, I happen to be a spiritual being, but no, my origin is as a spiritual being. Do you see the difference? If I'm a spiritual being and I notice that I have a spiritual part, that's not exactly the right order, because one of the great gifts that the great philosopher Ernest Holmes brought into the world in the last century was this idea of the descent of spirit into form. That's actually what our teaching symbol, which many people see as that V, it's not really a V, it's a direction. That spirit moves from spirit into form. Spirit moves from spirit into form. Now, what has the belief been in the Judeo-Christian reality for all these thousands of years? The belief has been, is I am form and I will evolve into spirit. But anybody who's had children has to ask the same question. I now have 3 natural-born grandchildren, and every one of them is different, just like my 2 original children were different. So how did they, if they didn't come from somewhere, how did they know to be who they are? How did they babies know that I'm separate, that I'm individual, that I'm this individualized thing happening here? And they're looking out in the world trying to figure out what it all is, because they came as spirit. And body came later. So the descent of spirit into form means it goes from spirit into mind into form. Spirit, mind, form. So for example, if you're a spiritual being and you have infinite potential, how are you going to create? If you're going to start with 0, nothing, I just discover I am, right? So blank your slate out. You know, like those little things we had when we were kids? You could rip the thing up, or the Etch-a-Sketch, turn it upside down, it disappears, right? Blank the slate out. And if you're a spiritual being, what do you want to do with it? And what method are you going to use to do something? Because the first thing that happens, so you look, spirit, I'm already a spiritual being, but the way spirit creates is it has to have an idea, doesn't it? And in order for you to create whatever your next thing is, you have to have an idea, don't you? Right? I can't create goals about my new year and what I want to be in the new year until I start to draw on that Etch-a-Sketch what I want it to be. Yes? So I take this infinite potential that is spirit, and through my ideas, through my mentality, it's beginning to take form. Do you see that? And whatever ideas you attach yourself to, those ideas are going to be what your life is really all about. And so what we see is that people don't seem to realize that what they're doing with their mind is creating their experience. So just as Howard said about the person who vandalized the sanctuary, what bad karma, meaning, but the law is going to respond to those ideas. The ideas that I would steal or hurt or beget pain, what is that going to bring to me? Stealing and hurting and pain. Do you see that? If I am living with ideas of stealing, hurting, and pain, I will be creating for myself stealing, hurting, and pain. Do you see that? And that's the unknown peace in the world. That people think, oh, I can actually go into somebody's locker, steal their wallet, just take their money, throw the wallet in the bin, and I'm okay, I got $500. Oh no, you got a karmic mess, and you've begun to tie yourself into knots that are going to get bigger and deeper and thicker. And so we go, well, here we're awakening beings. Everybody say, I'm a spiritual being. I'm a spiritual being, and I'm waking up. So what is God's number one fundamental law? How do we know the universe will last forever? This is important, kids. We are all learning how to use God's laws to create what we want. Yes? So what is God's number one fundamental law? And I've only told you for the last 10 years. So if you're having trouble finding out what is God's fundamental law, let me remind you, harmony is God's fundamental law. All things have to work together for good or the whole thing would collapse. Do you see that? It has to be good. There cannot be, that's what's wrong with the whole Star Wars thing. The whole Star Wars thing is that there's a powerful evil. There is no powerful evil. There's only misusing the one power and creating bad karma from it. Do you see that? Or you could correctly use the one power and create good karma from it. Now, the word karma, let's change it to an English word. Ralph Waldo Emerson called the word karma the law of compensation. The law of compensation. Whatever it is you put in is going to come out. Yes? So here's what Deepak said about it. Deepak Chopra. You all know about Deepak Chopra, yes? You have 7 Chopras in your body? I've used that joke for 10 years. It always works. No, Deepak Chopra, not chakra. Deepak Chopra says, whatever you put your attention on will go stronger in your life. Whatever you take your attention away from will wither, disintegrate, and disappear. Intention organizes its own fulfillment. So the question for us on New Year's Day is, where are we putting our attention? Where are we putting our attention on what we want in the new year? Where are we putting our attention on what we want in life? Where are we putting our attention on what we're expecting as a greater good? Where are we putting our attention? Because it has been said, and accurately so, wherever your attention goes, your energy flows. So where are you going to put your attention this year? And here we have already found, we have discovered through the course of our lives that we are spiritual beings. That's what got you here on New Year's morning. What got you here? I'm a spiritual being. And I know I'm a spiritual being, so how am I going to organize? Well, the way God organizes its spiritual reality is through ideas. Isn't that correct? Well, if I'm born in the image and likeness of God, then the way I organize my spiritual reality is through ideas. So if you're not going to think about who you are or what your vision is, and here's what I like. In the Old Testament, I use this in all the years of my ministry. In the Old Testament, it says, where there is no vision, the people will perish. You've heard that line before, yes? Where there is no vision, the people will perish. Well, now, change that around to the affirmative then. Then if there is a vision, the people will flourish. Isn't that true? If there's no vision, they'll perish. With a vision, they'll flourish. And so the question we're really asking ourselves on New Year's Day is, what's my vision? What's my vision for my life? What's my vision for who I'm going to become? What's my vision for where my creativity is going to go, where my energy is going to go? Because where my attention goes, the energy flows. So I am the one who must step back a second and say, wait a minute, where do I want to put my attention? What do I want to think about? I wrote this in 2012. Now, you might remember that in 2012, we were believing, and I still believe, we were on the dawn of bringing forth a new humanity, right? And I believe that is actually happening. And what we have seen is, since 2012, in these last 5 years, what we have seen is all of the miscreations being brought to the surface. Kind of like, you might remember when you were a teenager. It's a little gross, so I apologize. But when you were a teenager, we had acne, yes? And those things had to come up and bubble out in order for us to get well, yes? We had to get rid of that which is no longer of service to us. Perfect assimilation, perfect circulation, perfect elimination. And we often think, well, we don't like the eliminating part of this system. Well, I've got dogs, and I've cleaned up a lot of dog poop in my life, let me tell you. And it's just part of life. It's just part of life. And so when humanity goes through the same thing, and we're clearing out this stuff that we don't need, what do you have to do? You have to clear it up and clean it up and make it right. Isn't that right? All within a flow, assimilation, circulation, elimination. Not trying to just do one thing, but to assimilate the new idea, allow it to circulate within me, and release that which no longer serves me. Isn't that right? And we say, well, I don't like the releasing part. But it's part of God's design, and you can't say you don't like God's design. Because you are God's design. So you have to surrender to the design, and that's why I love that beautiful, I don't know what the song is, but there's a song on the radio, top 40 radio now being sung, and the female artist sings, and the soul sought to be sculpted by the sculptor. Isn't that a pretty line? To be sculpted by the sculptor. And I thought, boy, ever since I heard that line, I said, that's my prayer. I want to be sculpted by the sculptor. Because the I am that I am is much greater than I know about. The I am that you are, who you are as an immortal spiritual being, is an idea so big in the mind of God, there's no way you could possibly know about it. You could not know all there is about it yet. Because humans aren't that good at embodying that yet. Remember, it was 2,000 some odd years ago that the preacher, the prophet Jesus, the Jewish prophet Jesus said, these things and more shall ye do. You shall walk on the water, calm the winds, cause the blind to see, the lame to walk, the deaf to hear, multiply the loaves and fishes, and change water into wine. And these things and more shall you do. How are you doing with that? You see that idea is so big, there's no way my personal self could know it. Do you see that? So I need to be sculpted by the sculptor. I need this giver of the I am that I am to reveal who this I am is, to reveal the glory of what it is to be me, because there's no one in the entire cosmos exactly like you. You're the place where the divinity of you has to happen. And so, what are we going to do? I want to be sculpted by the sculptor, but how does the sculptor do? How did Michelangelo create the David? You heard when Michelangelo was asked how he created the David, he said, I didn't really create the David. I just released him from the rock. It was already there, but sculpted by the sculptor, I released this beautiful thing that is there. Yes? And that's who we are. We are this incredible thing, but you don't know how to sculpt it because it's so much bigger than you. But wait, I can be sculpted by the sculpture. That which created me can release all the rock around me to reveal all that is the glory that I am. And so we start with ideas, but we try not to get attached to the ideas, right? What is this great line from Thich Nhat Hanh, the Buddhist? Do not lose yourself in the past. Do not lose yourself in the future. Do not get caught up in your angers, worries, or fears. Anxiety, the illness of our time. Let me repeat that. Anxiety, the illness of our time, comes primarily from our inability to dwell in the present moment. If in our heart we are still clinging to anything, anger, anxiety, or possessions, we cannot be free. So this tendency we have to go, the world is wrong, something's wrong, something went wrong in the world, and we think things are all wrong. No, the world, this dimension, let me remind you, this dimension, this plexiglass is vibrating light, isn't it? Right? Isn't all energy and matter are equal and interchangeable, yes? It's vibrating light, but I can't put my hand through it, and if I put my head in it, it's liable to hurt, yes? Because it's thick here. Light is slowed down to such a vibration that it's thick. So the last place that change takes place is in the physical plane. So that's like, planting a seed in the soil and going, I've got a seed in the soil, but it's not growing. It's not growing. Is something wrong? It's not growing. It's not growing. It's not growing. And then you pull the seed out, and then, of course, what it was doing was rooting itself. Yes? And you pull the seed out, and you completely undo it. And you have to start all over again. Yes? Because this is the last place that it changes. But it doesn't mean the change isn't happening. It doesn't mean that life isn't growing. It doesn't mean that humanity isn't learning. Yes? We're seeing, for those of you who have been around since the 1960s, we had this arch enemy named Khrushchev. Do you remember back then? That we had a terrible arch enemy, right? And then over the years, there was an arch enemy. And now the cycle's coming around again where we're like making people into arch enemies again. Well, wait a minute. That's not the same place. It's higher up, and things may not be what they appear to be. Yes? So we put our anxiety about what's going to happen in the year, what's going to happen in the new presidency, what's going to happen. No, to the degree that you participate in your anxiety, that's what you're bringing back to yourself. To the degree that we put our attention on our vision and know that our vision is not controlled by anyone outside of ourselves. There is no power outside of ourselves that can change your vision. You are the one who must have the vision. And then you must begin to walk like your own vision. Yes? What is your vision for yourself this year? Because your vision is going to guide you. Your vision is going to show you the way. I have a nice line here written about vision. A vision, this is from our friend Arthur, the teacher Arthur Chang. A vision is the overarching purpose for your life. It will be characterized by light, surprise, love, and enduring transformation. So what is the first thing one needs to do on New Year's Day? Is get a vision of what your life is going to be. Get a vision of where you're going with your growth. Get a vision of what you're doing. Did you know that this has been known for years and years and years, that they did a study at Harvard University of the graduates of Harvard University, and they tracked all of the graduates of Harvard University over a 10-year period. And they tracked the levels of financial success of all of the graduates over the 10 years. And what they found is that the top 30% of the producers made more than 3.5 times more than the other 70%, and that the thing that distinguished the two of them was the first group had goals and visions and the second group did not. Because here's how I went to the Center for Creative Leadership and spent months and months in a program to learn something very simple. If you don't know where you're going, you're going to end up someplace else. Do you get it? If you don't know where you're going, you're not going to get there. It's very hard to track a course if you don't know where you're going. Right? And so, what is the vision for yourself? And I say, don't think small. Take your own thoughts, because your thoughts need to be sculpted by the sculptor, don't they? So I can only look at my highest thoughts, the highest I have for myself. I can look at my goals, my dreams, my desires, and then, just as Thich Nhat Hanh said, not get attached to them. Because I need the sculptor to take those ideas and make them the way that I am, the way that the soul that God has given me, that I may be in tune with my true nature and be revealed the glory of God that is the I am that I am. Don't you want that? In your life, to reveal the glory of God? Could you imagine what God really thinks of you? And to reveal that level of love and that level of joy and that level of bliss in your lifetime now, while you're living, maybe even in 2017? Oh, boy, to be sculpted by the sculptor. To offer my highest vision and not be stuck on it. Because something greater than that vision could come forward. Something even better could come forward. So we only know that we paint by means of ideas, but I don't know how big and how beautiful God would paint through me. So I begin to hold ideas and write down ideas and establish ideas as goals, but I hold them loosely so that the sculptor could reinvent them and make them more rich and more powerful and more joyful and more meaningful as me. And therefore that I can bring more meaning to everyone whose lives I touch. Yes? To be sculpted by the sculptor. So I'm registering at a higher level. I'm signing up. I'm signing up because I'm getting older. I'm signing up because I need to demonstrate radiant, vibrant, dynamic health. Because I want to be around to love and to share and to give to all of these grandchildren. I want them not to have just, oh, I have pictures. Look, they knew Grandpa existed. We had pictures. No. I want them to know Grandpa exists because they know and love their grandpa, and their grandpa knows and loves them. And I want to be here to watch my children become these fine young adults that they're becoming. And I want them to know that they're supported, which means I have to be supported to stand and support. Yes? So I have to be the one who says, I'm signing up. God, my beloved, you have created me as a miracle in life, and I have revealed many good things, and I'm very grateful for it. But I have not revealed the miracle of the I am that I am. Would you please guide, guard, direct, and protect, and lead me into the paths of perfect right action that match the I am that I am. This is the work, to get that God personal, to get it about you, to get it so that you know in every crevice of your life there is God, and every place where there's a mistake, God can resculpt it. And every idea that is not in balance and not in tune with my highest good can be released, and new ones can be revealed in me and as me and through me. Oh, where there is vision, the people will flourish. And when I have a vision, I will be stepping into a life that flourishes. And you cannot have a new beginning unless you stop, erase the Etch-a-Sketch, and go again. Release that which has already served and get your newest ideas, not to hold on to them, but as the highest that you have right now, because God will always go toward the highest good offered. The law of mind will always go to the highest good offered. And if you offer, this is the idea, it has to be this way and no other way, then that's the limit you have placed on yourself. But rather, this is my best idea that I have so far. I want to move in this direction, and when I see something greater and more wonderful, I will move toward that. Yes, each one of us has the power to register at a higher level. Spirit, soul, and body. I am already spirit. I am already soul. And the only place that I can bring it all forth is in my body. In the body of my mind, in the body of my experience, and the body of my world. Yes? This is the last place to get the change. But it's the place where we have to hold the vision so that the change comes all the way through. We will not step backwards in time. We will grow forward into an awakening humanity, into a world that works for everyone. And it's available, and it's pressing against us each day. And are we willing to let go of all the false ideas and to claim a new vision of who we might be in the world and how we might live that vision in our day-to-day life, touching the lives of everyone who touches our experience with a greater truth, with a greater love, with a greater joy. Because if the sculptor will sculpt me, the sculptor will sculpt anyone. But it requires that we ask. The individual has to ask the sculptor to sculpt. We're too busy doing our own sculpting to allow that which can release the David as each of us to do the work in us. Yes? So it's a new year. Take the time to let go of that which doesn't serve you. Get those ideas, find out what they are, and let them go. And take the time to look at what is your vision for you in this new year? How would you like to walk in the world in this new year? And what I know is that my greatest desire my deepest and most profound desire at 60 years young is to be sculpted by the sculptor. And oh, my beloved, that you would mold me into the glory that I really am. This is the greatest possible gift that could ever be given. And it's given to each of us and all of us. So for wherever you are in your life, whether you're facing the most difficult challenge you've ever faced, or whether you're looking at a greater good than you've ever made room for before, this I know for sure. Everything's going to work out just fine. And I invite you to think on these things as together we explore the possibilities. Namaste. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Oh, bless you. Thank you, thank you. What does it say in the program? Who's coming up here now? Let me look. It says, I'm going to do the spiritual mind treatment. I'm going to do the offering. I'm coming up here now. That's what it says right here. I'm already there. All right, so let's turn our attention back to that which is the one life, the one presence, and the one power. Knowing that in our small and intimate group, we have reminded ourselves today that we took this New Year's morning to allow ourselves to remind ourselves of the glory of the I am that I am, and to make a decision to reveal that glory in a way that's greater and more wonderful than we've ever known before. And so, my beloved, that you would sculpt me into that which you already know that I am, that I might reveal that glory in and as and through the name and nature of the living Christ, the awakening Buddha, the Atman realized. For this great good happening in me and through me and as me, and for all the joy and ecstasies that are revealed through it, for this I give deep and profound thanks. And I let go, and I let God, and I allow it to be, as together we declare, and so it is.